Another thing you can do with text in 3D is add some blurred depth of field. In other words, restrict the depth of field so that things that are out of the focus of the camera look blurred, and it creates a more realistic look. So let's play through this example here and break it down a little bit. Okay, so we have a camera animation, and in fact, one way to look at this, if we go to a top view, what we've got is a bunch of particles here. If I open up the particles group, we have an emitter that is creating these particles in 3D space. In fact, you can see the 3D checkbox for the emitter selected there. So we've got a bunch of particles. We have several text layers that are each animated with a preset text sequence behavior, one of the presets, not even a custom one. One here, 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 and here. So these layers of text are spread throughout Z space. And then the camera animates to each of them using the framing behavior. And I go into detail about how to animate the camera with the mastering camera animation tutorial. But basically we have framing behaviors we can see here in the timeline set up to move the camera to each of these text objects. If I select the first framing behavior here and go to the Behaviors tab, we can see that it's targeting that line of text. So it just goes up, it basically takes the camera and moves it right up to that line of text. And you can see right here the camera moving up to the line of text. So it's actually pretty simple how it's set up. But let's go back to the active camera view. And as this first set of text comes into view here, we can enable some depth of field. So right here, if I were to go back to the top view, and I'm going to use the dolly, orbit, and pan controls here to zoom in a little bit. So here's the camera coming close to the text. Okay, Control A back to the active camera view. Under the render pop-up menu, there's an option to enable depth of field for the camera. So I turn that on. All of a sudden, anything that's not directly in the focal plane of the camera becomes blurred. And the further away it is, the more blurred it is, which creates kind of an interesting effect. If we select the camera and go to the camera inspector, there are a bunch of depth of field controls that let you determine how blurry things get when they're not in the camera's focus. It lets you determine where that focal plane is, so I can choose exactly what's in focus here by dragging along this. So I can make the H in focus, or I can make the letters in the background in focus. I'll undo that change. And then there's some additional changes that you can make as well, but those are the key ones. So now if I play this through, we'll see that the letters are all blurred until they hit the focal plane of the camera. So that's an idea about how to use depth of field in combination with sequence text behaviors to create an interesting look.